Hello YouTubers, I want to welcome you to another edition of Bargain Bin Gear. And this is part 2 of looking at the secrets of the Fender Bassbreaker15 combo tube amp. Now, how this occurred, I went ahead and ordered one because I had gotten one locally along with the speaker cabinet, extension cabinet. When I sold off the extension cabinet, which left me with just one bass breaker, and I usually use 2 in stereo, so I wanted to order another one, which I did. However, then I found one, this was through Guitar Center, that was closer to me, in better condition, and they wanted an extra 20 bucks. So I went ahead and canceled the first order, right, and the guy on the phone told me, yes, I'll cancel it first thing in the morning. So I went ahead and placed the order for the one I wanted, and I received it, and as you'll see, we'll have an unboxing, and it's the one where I had to put the tubes in to the amplifier. However, a week later I received another one. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't order this, right? It was the one that was supposed to be canceled. Well, they never canceled it. So I ended up with 2 Fender Bassbreakers. And, well, as you'll see, I'm not sure I want them at all. I'm not sure. I'm actually really liking the PV Classic 30 instead. Anyway, let's take a look at the footage, alright? So here you go, part 2 of the secrets of the Fender Bassbreaker. Okay, it looks like we've got a package here. MIDI kind of beat me to it, so he's waiting for the unboxing. So we're going to have an unboxing here. Please don't try this at home. Only trained professionals should attempt. Alright, we'd hate one of our viewers to be injured trying to unbox this. First thing I notice is that that's an original box. Because if you'll see on the sides, it says Fender. So let's get this opened. MIDI, we're going to have an unboxing here. That's right. Okay, careful. Careful, Mickey. Alright, well, first thing I notice is it looks like we may have a bonus here. Bonus! We'll see. Alright, now here's something that really kind of sucks. They took out the tubes and put them in a box. So I'm going to have to put all the tubes in. That really kind of sucks. Okay, well that's a bummer. However, here's the bonus. Look at that. Nice amp cover. Wow, interesting. Okay. So that was kind of unadvertised. I was hoping these would be like extra tubes, but I doubt it. So here it is. It's a Fender Bassbreaker15. Looks to be in excellent condition. except I'm going to have to open it up and put the tubes in. That kind of sucks. Anyway, there it is. Fender Bassbreaker15. Looks to be in excellent condition. Okay, the first thing we're going to have to do is remove this grill. Right here. Right there, we're going to remove that. So hold on. Okay, there we go. I removed the grill, and I use this little Black & Decker electric screwdriver. And man, did it work great. Alright. So now I'm going to turn the amp upside down so I can see the sockets here, which are all along here. Right there they are. Alright, and we're going to put in the tubes. So hold on. Okay, now I've got the tubes in, and here's a flaw in the Bassbreaker, at least for recording and home use. Okay, now here, I'm going to turn it on. Take a listen. That's up against the speaker grill. Right, it's on the low setting. It sounds like the amp gain is cranked, but it's not. It's at 3 or 4. And just for you to hear this, listen to this hum. Okay, so it's got a hum to it. And here I've turned down the master volume and the preamp gain to try to minimize that hum. And it still gives you a very nice sound. I mean, if I use my Joyo EQ, right, let me set it up correctly, just knocking off the highs a little bit, you get a smoother sound, right? Whereas without the EQ, unfortunately, if I move it to the gain stage 2, you'll hear that hum again. Hold on. Yeah, take a listen. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just unacceptable. The noise, you know. I mean, I understand amps, especially tube amps, have noise, but this one in particular is super noisy. I take off the EQ. that amp noise is still there. Now, is this a problem? I think it is. It's really annoying, I'll tell you that much. Now when you're recording, I guess when you start playing, you can't really hear the noise, you know, so it's okay. But anything before that, when you're not playing, you gotta cut that out of a recording because it's noise that you don't want. Now, just in comparison, I'm gonna hook up my PB Classic 30, known to be kind of a noisy amp. And remember, it's 30 watts as opposed to 15. Okay, and you can definitely tell the difference. Right, so let's try that. Hold on. Okay, now I've got the PB Classic 30 hooked up with a master volume at 5 on the clean channel at about 3.5 to 4. And take a listen. I don't hear any amp hum. I don't hear any amp hum. I suppose there's a teeny bit of amp hiss, but not much, not like the Bassbreaker. Hold on. Now here's the PB Classic 30, pretty darn quiet, and listen to the volume levels. It's much louder, of course. That just sounds great, and you don't have that amp hum. And I can even turn on the Joyo EQ, and that gives you a much softer sound, right? So much louder, to me, to my ears, much clearer. You know, now I do like the kind of bounce you get from the Fender Bassbreaker if you can get through all the noise. I mean, that's sad. And the noise really limits how loud it can get, really, you know. By the way, this reminds me very much, I wrote a riff years ago, and I played it for my teacher. And the best he could say was, well, I haven't heard that 100 million times. And he goes like this, very much kind of a docket type riff. Get him sinister sound. And without the EQ. With the EQ, now without the EQ. And without the EQ. Man, that is just an awesome amp. Okay. So here's the deal. Obviously the PB, much louder, much clearer, and while it has some amp hiss a little bit, it's not that annoying amp hum that you're getting from the Fender Bassbreaker. And that's at a pretty loud volume level, right? Compared to the Fender Bassbreaker. You know? Now if you're playing at really low volumes, where you can kind of tune out the amp hum, right, of the Fender, then it's okay. I mean, the tone is pretty good and everything. It's just that amp hum really limits what you can do with it. And in fact, I remember in part 1 of the Fender Bassbreaker, I was saying how I could use the second gain structure. It has a knob with 3 gain structures. Well, you can turn up the second gain structure and boom, you've got all this amp hum, right? Whereas here I can hear on the PB, and I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of it's coming from my pedals and these crappy cables and things. However, it shouldn't be producing this kind of amp hum, you know, with the Fender. And it only produces this amp hum when you've got a signal going into it, right? It's almost like they didn't shield something. Okay, anyway, very annoying. I remember I had one of these Bassbreakers already, and I wanted another one at the time, not knowing of the amp hum. So I ordered another one from Guitar Center. Unfortunately, they sent me 2. Right? And, well, they both have the amp hum, you know, quite frankly. And, well, here's the thing. I can keep one, send one back, or send them both back and say, hey, forget it. I don't want this amp hum. It's just too annoying for me. Or I could replace them with the PB Classic 30, which I am really impressed with, I have to admit. Just the sound quality that you get and the volume of it is just fantastic. I enjoy playing it. Fender Bassbreaker, The sound is really quite similar to the Classic 30. If it was quieter, it'd be great. It'd be a great amp. But as it is, that amp hum is really terrible, you know. I mean, I remember when I played just in a band in my basement, right? And I mean, I had a Roland GP8, and I'd run it through this big console stereo that was tube, right? And it had an input, so plugged it in. But it certainly got the same kind of amp hum. Reminds me of that very much. And let's face it, for recording, it's just not ideal. So I really have to make a decision, I guess. Do I want to keep the Fender Bassbreakers or send them back for a full refund? And maybe apply that refund to a couple of PV Classic 30s. You know, I mean, I'll tell you this much. If I was to play a solo gig, you know, I'd want it kind of loud, not terribly loud, but that could fill even a medium-sized room, right? I think if I was playing a big room, there wouldn't be anybody there, so. But a medium-sized room, it's possible that the PV Classic 30 would be perfect for that. It's just super nice sound and relatively quiet compared to its volume. You know, I can't say the same for the Fender Bassbreaker. In fact, it doesn't get all that much louder than my custom Defender 5-watt heads. You know, it's pretty comparable, really. And I should mention, without the amp hum, you know, you have to really turn it down and work with it to get rid of the amp hum. The second you turn it up too much, boom, there it is. Right? And that, to me, is very annoying. It's just very disappointing, I'd say. Now, the Bassbreaker15 is often compared to the Blues Junior. I know I hate the name too, but maybe the Blues Junior doesn't have that amp hum. I'm assuming. I don't know for sure because I've never tried one. But yeah, the Bassbreaker is honestly quite a disappointment because of the noise issues. You know, and it's actually quite heavy, you know, for the sound you get and things. Whereas the PV Classic 30 is even lighter and much louder. I mean, much louder. Classic 30. Man, that's quite an amp. I'll tell you what, I like it very much, and I like playing it. So right now, as it stands, I'm really thinking of giving up on the Fender Bassbreaker, returning the two I have, and then I have a third one that I will sell off. Right? Well, you would think that a 15-watt amp like the Bassbreaker would be quieter than the 30-watt PV. But that's not the case at all. It's the opposite. That doesn't make sense. I don't know. Yeah, this is supposed to be the Fender Bassbreaker amp video. And instead it's turning into the PV Classic 30 video. Right? So that really tells you a lot, I think. I don't know. What do you think? You know, now, granted, all tube amps have some noise. I understand that. But here I think it's really excessive. I mean, they did nothing to tame the noise at all here. And I mean, on the third channel, it's outrageous. But that's high gain. That's to be expected. But on the first and second gain stages, it should be quiet as a baby's bottom. Right? Well, unfortunately, no. Right? The Fender Bassbreaker, unfortunately, it's more like a soiled bottom. Right? Whereas the PV is as smooth as a baby's bottom. Anyway, I really like the PV Classic 30. And I remember I did a video a while back about the PV Classic 30 and mentioned how much I liked the clean sound and how clean it is, really. You know? And I was hoping that the Fender Bassbreaker would do that, but for me it falls short. Sorry. But I like a really nice, clean sound, you know? Which the Fender Bassbreaker can do, but just before you play and when you stop, there's that amp hum, right? I read online that the effects loop can be noisy, but then they fixed that issue. So, you know, I don't use an effects loop anyway. But when you turn it up, that amp hum, it gets there. No, it's a noisy amp. There's just no way around it, is what I should say. And the fact that I can't even compare it to the PV Classic 30, which is twice the wattage, you know. Which, by the way, I should tell you, the 30 watt, it's not just volume, but it's also the feel of it is super. I mean, compared to a 15 watt, there's a big difference, really, playing wise, for me anyway. Now I'm well into my period. I mean, I've got definitely a few days to think about it, and basically then I'd have to repack them and get a label and ship them back and say, hey, no. And as it stands now, I'm really tempted to do that because for the volume that you get out of these is great for home use, but that amp hum will always be there, and that's just terrible. You know? Whereas here I can hear a little hiss from the Peavey, but it's more like pedal hiss from my pedal board rather than amp hum. You know? And remember, the Classic 30 is known to be pretty noisy as far as amp hum goes. But I'm not getting that at all. Now, if I return the 2 Fender Bassbreakers, you know, which is a sizely investment. I mean, that's, you know, they're basically $400 each. Well, hell, that's $800. Now, what I could do is replace them with the Blues Junior or the Peavey Classic 30. Or maybe there's some other amp that's clean and really quiet, right? Maybe a Laney or something like that. I don't know. If you have any suggestions, put them in the comments and I'll try to check them out. What's that? A high watt makes a tube amp as well. I don't know. Strangely enough, I looked for some custom amps because I like the Defender 5H head so much. There really isn't much. There's the 5H mod, you know, but it's similar to the 5H. Anyway, so that's where it stands now. And I mean, believe me, I tried and tried. So last night I stayed up late trying out the amps and things. And this morning, coming out and first played the Peavey Classic 30 and was really enjoying it. I mean, I love the sound of it. And was quite impressed with the little Joyo EQ pedal, right? It really tames it down. I mean, it takes away the not the volume, but the high end, right? It makes it a real soft sound. So I really enjoyed the Peavey Classic 30. And then I switched over to the Fender Bassbreaker, and it has a nice sound, it does. But kind of that noise. Not necessarily while you're playing, but right before and right after. You know, and it limits how loud you can turn it up and those kinds of things. Whereas the Peavey Classic 30, believe me, is as loud as I want to get. Anyway, you know. Anyway, so that's where we're at. And in any case, you know, I didn't order 2. I ordered 1. But they sent me 2. And they're charging me for both, you can be sure. So one of them's got to go back. But maybe I'll send them both back. And say, Bassbreaker is sad. We'll see. I'll let you know in the next video. So make sure you're subscribing and I'll let you know. Alright, very good. See you next time.